Good evening, everyone. And I welcome you to this meeting of the Corporate Performance and Budget Scrutiny Committee. Thank you, everybody, for attending, whether that's in person or virtually. You're all very welcome. I've received apologies for absence from our normal chairman, Councillor Pete Pillinger. So unfortunately, the honour to chair this committee falls on myself this evening. So please bear with me, and I'm sure we'll have an effective meeting. Also apologies from Councillor Peter Gabbert. There are no substitutes, so if I can move on. Item 2, declarations of interest. Can I remind members to declare any interest, in particular pecuniary interest, that they may have on items on the agenda? If there's nothing that you wish to declare at this point, just flag it up if it arises during the meeting. For completeness, can I declare a personal non-prejudicial interest as a county councillor, in case there are areas of crossover, which I know there are 1 or 2 items. Thank you. We've received the minutes of the last meeting, which took place on the 10th of February. And thank you very much for those minutes being produced. They look fine to me, but are there any queries from colleagues? No, we're content to accept those as an accurate reflection of the meeting. Yes, that's approved unanimously. Thank you. If we can turn to the update on recommendations from previous committee meetings, which commences on page 11. Sets out a number of recommendations which have been accepted and completed. If they've been accepted and completed, can we take them off this list now? We'll reduce those down. Any objections to doing that? No, so if we can do that, please. Are there any queries regarding any of the other recommendations contained on here? So King?
Yeah, this is just on the music in the park side of things, which is when we're looking at the 2024 numbers and the 2025 numbers. On 2024, then we're looking at numbers from Preston and South Ribble, whereas in 2025 it just says Preston. I'm assuming South Ribble is integrated as part of that, but I just wanted to ensure that we're looking like for like there.
Thank you. There's nobody that can answer that specifically this evening, but if a written response could be provided to Councillor King and the committee, please. Yes, thank you. Councillor Alworth.
Yeah, I have previously asked, and I raised this at the last meeting as well. We were promised figures on sales of tickets on music in the park and where those ticket sales actually came from geographically. And I'm still waiting a few months further on now. So
they have been provided with the agenda, Councillor Alworth.
In which case, thank you, and I apologise, but
no,
I can't find it on the list here.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. They were from a variety of places, not necessarily in big numbers, but we are, for whatever reason, attracting people from reasonable distances. Okay, thank you. I will next take us on to item 5, but before doing so, can I just flag up for anybody attending the committee for these particular items? So items 7 and 8, unfortunately, we will defer those to a future meeting, the next meeting, all being well, of this scrutiny committee. Unfortunately, Councillor Watkinson isn't well this evening. We've received notification quite late, so we're not able to ask questions in regard to his portfolio. However, there were some questions that we did want to ask that are rather time sensitive. I think those relate to the Penwitham Neighbourhood Plan and to the current consultation which is taking place on the local plan. So if after the meeting we can collate written questions and send those off and get some written responses at least, which I know it's not quite the same as interviewing the portfolio holder, but at least it will be helpful in the meantime. Okay, so so items 7 and 8 will be deferred. So if I can go back to item 5, please, and that's the Cabinet portfolio update with regard to environment and street scene. Can I welcome Councillor Kath Filnsworth our cabinet member for that portfolio, who will present her report and answer some questions. And can I welcome the officers, Jennifer Mowen, Director of Communities and Leisure, and some other officers which are present as well. And thank you for giving up your valuable time. My first comment is it's quite a wide-ranging portfolio, Councillor Unsworth. So we look forward to hearing a few words of introduction, perhaps, if you wish to do that, and then we'll go into questions.
Thank you, Chair. Right, I'll just really more or less repeat my comments that I made in the report, that it represents the activities and efforts of the officers and operatives in the teams that support the environment and street scene portfolio. It covers environmental health, climate emergency, street scene and waste. And environmental health delivers the statutory functions as outlined in the report very effectively. They're outlined very effectively and they carry them out very effectively. It's not clear from that sentence. The project to enhance, there's some really good stuff happening, such as the energy efficiency for poorly performing rented homes, privately rented in the borough, because as you know that it's quite hard to always persuade landlords to look at their properties. So this is to encourage that. Forward-looking team given the opportunities to become qualified because as environmental health officers, because it's not an area that's easy to recruit. And it's likely that there will be more inspections in the future, and that need for more inspections will give them the opportunity to perhaps stay on as qualified health and environmental health officers at the end. The climate emergency team have continued to make progress. The climate emergency task group leads the way on that with the strategy and the action plan. There's lots of work going on, all outlined in here, like the EV chargers. There has been a bit of an issue with staffing levels. One member of staff had to leave for personal reasons very suddenly, but that's been resolved now. And even in spite of that temporary setback, it did show how resilient they were, because they did carry all the tasks that were expected of them. Some of the extras have had to wait, such as everybody's aware of the ponds, and there's lots of different things going on, and some of those have been delayed, but they would have been acted on sooner if we'd not had the staff shortage. The street scene and waste, again, they're carrying out vital services, and I think it's really important that we acknowledge all the hard work that goes into that, and organising the rotas. And you get one person off sick and it's the whole team has to hang on and wait for a replacement, and it's the face-to-face that you see. It's how the residents judge us. So that and I think they've done a really good job of that. And Chris is here to answer a lot of questions about them. That service. There's a new environmental crime manager. Is that his proper title? Has just been added to the team, and he's already making a big impact, because I know that enforcement is one of the things that residents have been concerned about. And it has actually already made an impact, having Caleb in post. And then the big thing will be the domestic food waste that we need to be collecting from April next year. And that entails vehicles, it'll entail staffing, it'll entail new rotas. It will be it's a big endeavour to go forward on. And we need to be really, one of the things that I put in here that I think we need to be really careful and clear about our communication strategy. We're hoping that we will be able to have a something that works for the whole of Lancashire, so that there's not the confusion between which coloured bins next door are doing because they're in a different borough. And hopefully we'll be able to get that clearly put out to everybody. And as I say, it does highlight the team's resilience and the ability to continue their important work. And I'd like to thank the officers and the teams for all the work and for providing the report.
Super. Thank you very much for that. And can I welcome Chris Walmsley to the meeting as well? And thanks for giving up your time too. Councillor Unsworth, so obviously you've got a portfolio which is wide ranging and an opportunity to make a big impression upon South Ribble in terms of the services that you have responsibility for. If I was to ask you for one particular achievement that you are most proud of within the portfolio, which would that be?
It's hard, isn't it, when when it's so to pick one out? But I think the thing that is sort of constant is the work that's done by the climate emergency team, because they're just doing lots of things behind the scenes. It's sort of, there's lots of things going on there, and I think it's hard to pick out one thing because it's just sort of lots of little things that are going on.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Thank you. Councillor Bowenberg, if you want to ask your question, please.
Hi. So your report highlights the key challenges within the portfolio, and I'm just wondering, what would you consider to be the ones that you worry about the most?
Thank you, David. The one that I suppose is most worrying, because it's going to have the biggest impact on residents, will be the food waste and getting that right. Because it will cause, there will be people that are unhappy with having to put their food out every week, and having an extra bin in their kitchen, which, there might not be that much room in everybody's kitchen to have an extra bin. And it's just the little things like that do cause unhappiness. But then there's also the I don't know what it's called, the place at Farrington where we're going to burn the waste.
It's got a mix up.
Yeah, where the food is going to be processed. Last time that was in use, there were complaints about aromas. So whether, that's another worry, and we're also getting everything up to scratch by the 1st of April next year, making sure that is operational and making sure that all our teams are in place doing the work. I think that will be my biggest concern.
Thank you. So you touched on the work on climate change as being one of your proudest parts. So I've got a question on that from Councillor King, please.
Hello. The council has a target to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. Can you tell me how far we are on this journey, and will this be achieved in the 5 years' time that was being set out?
Difficult. It has reduced the carbon in our own estate quite significantly, and the things that we can control, and that's due to go down, that reduce even more now that we've got the leisure centres decarbonised. However, the 2030 is very challenging, and it is aspirational, but we're still working towards it. I can actually send you more details. I do think that there were certain things in place that were put in place that were ignored by the last government, and that are now they've not been reintroduced yet, but we're hoping they will be. Some of the targets were delayed, such as the EV vehicles. So yeah, it's a tough one. We're not going. The chances are we won't get there, but it doesn't stop us trying.
Thank you. And I do note as well that the aim is not necessarily just for the council to be carbon neutral by 2030. It's the borough. So are the council strategies and plans ambitious enough to ensure that businesses and residents come on this journey with us to achieve that target by 2030?
I believe they are. I believe that we've done what we can do at the moment, and we are continuing to do it. Things like the looking at the privately rented homes and working with Progress Housing to look at reduction in carbon. Apparently, one of the worst places is for carbon is in the sort of Samsbury area, where there's a lot of wood burners, and they're make quite a significant, and getting people to change from wood burners, is quite a difficult task. So hopefully, and some of that is because some people there, it's a cheaper way to heat their homes. They might have an expensive home, but not necessarily a lot of income. So they're using the wood burners as not always the season. It might not always be the seasoned wood or whatever that is we're supposed to be using.
And final question on this, just for better understanding for us all, is who is it that you're engaging with in terms of external stakeholders for trying to achieve carbon neutrality across the borough? Because with pretty substantial businesses, factories across the borough, we need them to make big changes if we're ever going to get to the targets that are required. So I just want to know, what groups is it that we actually engage with to get to that achievement?
They do work in partnership with quite a lot of people. I can rhyme them off if you like, or I can send you a list. It's the local businesses and landowners are on that list, as are the teams within here. There's the Lancashire Climate Officers Group, Central Lancs Climate Officers, it goes on, Electricity Northwest, Local Partnership for Local Nature, and the Northwest Zero Hub, Net Zero Hub. There's a lot of partnerships. There was the B initiative, which was encouraging businesses to apply for grants to reduce their carbon emissions. I'm not aware of any other specific things we've got going. I don't know whether you know.
Yeah, so we did a grant scheme to businesses. So we contacted all our larger and smaller businesses to look at grants to do an analysis of their carbon usage and how they can reduce that. So the government have a grant system called SALEX, so for public buildings. So we contacted all the schools, all the public buildings to say this grant was available. Obviously, we applied for it ourselves to decarbonise leisure centres and buildings. So we just tried to encourage others to do that. So we've talked to quite a few schools. We had a business engagement event last year here. So we had a lot of companies that came with equipment to show, solar panels, decarbonisation equipment. We even had a Porsche on the car park, an electric Porsche. Not that anybody in Suffolk was going to get that, but anyway, it was all there with some works vehicles as well. So we've engaged quite a lot of businesses and community. We had quite a lot of schools and school children here to have a look at that too. So we've tried as much as we possibly can. I think one of the areas we're probably missing out on is homeowners. So there's quite a number of grants that we've had for affordable warmth, particularly targeting homes for people who find it difficult to heat. But there is quite a gap between what we actually need for people in their homes than what in reality there is to looking at solar panels, heat pumps, insulation, boiler replacement. So I think there's been a lot with businesses, but I think we need to really now start focusing on homeowners and, you know, working through energy efficiency and how we can promote it, focusing some of the grants that we have at the moment to look at energy efficiency.
And final question on this section is just with there being so many decision makers to make the borough carbon neutral, in your personal view, do you think that the target of making the borough rather than the council carbon neutral by 2030 was ever achievable in the first place when the decision makers are largely based outside of this building?
DEFRA had a similar, for their own department, had set the same standards, so we followed what was seen as best practice.
On a completely separate topic, on page 42 on your objectives, we were surprised that in your portfolio it includes antisocial behaviour and housing strategy, when Councillor Belinsky-Gelder's portfolio is responsible for housing and community safety, and Councillor Hunter's portfolio covers leisure and active health. What do you think is the rationale for splitting this out?
Luckily, we do speak to each other. Otherwise, it wouldn't make much sense. And also, the officers in the teams speak to each other, and there's lots of interaction and bounce ideas off each other as well. So even though it does look a little bit messy on paper, I think in practice it does seem to work.
Thank you. And just to follow on with that, you have already partially answered my question on this, but what links are made and processes in place to ensure that nothing gets missed when dealing with 3 different cabinet portfolios on the topic of housing?
They are quite, even though they do all cover housing, they are quite distinct roles within that. Ours is the environmental part. So it's just, we just need to keep speaking to each other, really, is the main thing, I would say. And it does work practically at your level, does it?
Yeah, it does work. So in my area, I do have most of the housing stuff. So we've got, the distinct areas. So in Councillor Unsworth's portfolio, it's on the housing quality. So it's about enforcement of housing standards, particularly in the private rented sector, but with our housing associations. Then we've got the homelessness, which is in Councillor Anley Walensky's portfolio, but the teams do have to work together. And then obviously there's then affordable homes and home building, which again, so there's quite a lot in housing, but I think it's good that we've got quite a lot of eyes on the housing portfolio so we can see what's going on. But the officers do all talk to each other, and obviously the portfolio holders do as well.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor King. Some really good questions there. Can I take us on to the next question, which is from Councillor Williams, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good evening. Moving on to a completely different subject again. We were talking about environmental health and those type of things, and food premises inspections. Have we an idea of how many premises we inspect annually? Are we up to date with inspections? And can we be assured that premises in South Ribble are operating to the highest standards possible?
Thank you. Yes, I have got some figures somewhere about numbers. So you want to know about how many environmental health issues in different categories? Sorry,
it's just mainly like food safety.
Food safety.
Food safety inspection.
Well, we had 169 food safety related service requests. That's when people raise an issue with us. But then there's also been the ongoing, there's over 1,000 food related outlets, or establishments in South Ribble, and they're on. Some are inspected more often than others, depending on whether it's seen as being a place that's more likely. For example, if you're selling sweets in a sweet shop, then it's not as likely as if you're doing takeaway food. So the takeaway food will be inspected more often, the higher risk places. So I don't know how many actual inspections will have been carried out this particular year, but I know that all the high risk and all the medium risk ones will have been completed by the end of the financial year. The lower risk ones are done less frequently. I'm just trying to, I don't think we've got the figures on it, have we?
Normally we do about 600 inspections a year. So that could be a mix of full inspections. It could be a mix of sampling inspections. So we sample surfaces and equipment, or it could be asking businesses to fill in a questionnaire, particularly the low risk ones. So around about 600. So we are fully compliant with the Food Standards Agency inspection programme, and should be completed by the end of March, and with a hopefully, fingers crossed, they all get done by the end of March. But at the moment, I think there's only 10 outstanding food inspections, so we should get them done.
Yeah, thank you. Can I take us on to a question from Councillor Bollenberg regarding diversionary activities?
Hi. On page 42 in the objectives, item 1, you mention a programme of outreach supporting diversionary activities, and I'm just wondering if you could just expand on what those diversionary activities would include and how you're measuring the success.
I am aware that there are certain that other portfolio holders have put forward ideas, such as the boxing club at Bamber Bridge, and working with the police to carry out different projects. But I've not actually had a summary of what's happening at this stage. But again, Jennifer might be able to complete my gap.
Yes, so we've had quite a few diversionary activities. So we're trying to target on particular areas that we know where there's antisocial behaviour. So particularly around Bamber Bridge is one of the areas that we're particularly concerned about. So there's been some activities at the hub in Bamber Bridge. We're looking at, as you say, activities to look at boxing and other youth provision down in Bamber Bridge. We've had Preston North End and the Active Health team who've also been doing some work as part of both Holiday Activity Fund, but also something outside of Holiday Activity Fund. And we're going to have active camps. So there's quite a lot of diversionary activities that young people can engage in that are in Bamber Bridge that are specifically targeted at young people.
So if I can ask a supplementary on that. So whilst I'm aware there have been some issues in the Bamber Bridge area, but nevertheless, what else is being offered across South Ribble?
Yeah. We have focused a few activities in Bamber Bridge just of late. There was a new partnership we developed with Brownish St Mary's where they gave us the facility in February half term. Because we've extended that active camps offering, we deliver quite a sort of broad range of HAF provision. Capacity is limited to offer like that free to access. But we have reached out to Penwitham as well. So we've offered some free football activity at Penwitham Priory, where people can just attend really sort of there's no cost for that. It's really informal, which has seen really good engagement. And going forwards, we want to try and get that in different areas. We do meet with various groups and community stakeholders to sort of identify little hotspots of antisocial behaviour, and where we can, we'll go and put some activity in that area, and just as like a quick fix until sort of the more established community groups can go in and formulate a plan to tackle that.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's helpful. Councillor Williams, please.
Thank you very much. Moving on to page 44, paragraph 16. There's been quite noticeable recently. There's been a lot of unauthorised occupation of council land by travellers and other people. Obviously here at the Civic Centre, and also with a number of tenants of ours at Boxer Place have been plagued quite recently. What steps are we taking to tackle this?
Yeah, we do seem to have had, almost seem to have been targeted this last couple of months. There's been a lot of incidents of, and obviously with having the new environmental crime manager in place, he's been dealing with this really effectively. He's been doing making sure there's welfare checks, because there's quite a lot of children being in some of the in the caravans and in the vehicles. So he makes sure that everything's done legally. He gets the enforcement team, and he's made the links with all the right other agencies that need to be involved to get people moved on as soon as we can, and as politely and as what's the word without causing too much disruption. But he's certainly quite firm, and he gets things done. Chris might be able to add something to that.
I think it's a difficult problem, isn't it? I think Councillor Unsworth is right. That does feel a little bit like we're being targeted. So we take the strongest action that we can do in line with the legislation. We often go to direct enforcement to move them on as quickly as we can do. And then you'll see in places like Boxer Place where we're looking at mitigation. I know on that site in particular, with property colleagues put some bollards in to try and restrict access, and you'll have seen that in some of the car parks across the borough. So it's identifying measures to try and keep them off sites as well, but it is a very difficult problem for us to work to, because you go through the enforcement action and move them off one site and it doesn't cover the next one, so they can essentially just go from one favourable site to the next. And we feel like we're chasing them around a little bit. We are looking at what options are available to us to try and extend some of some of the orders we've got in place to try and prevent them from moving from one side to another. But obviously we've got to go through the courts and get that in place. So, sometimes that's not fully within our gift, but it's certainly something that we're trying to progress.
Let's ask a quick supplementary. So do we need to do more to secure our properties against, especially here at the Civic Centre and places like Boxer Place, to actually stop people camping in the first place?
Well, we have done, as you'll have seen across a lot of sites. It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Because we restrict unauthorised encampments and vehicles of that nature coming in, and then that has an impact on residents. So I suppose it's case by case and just trying to be proportionate in what action that we take.
Yeah, thank you. Can I take us to page 44, paragraph 18? We talk about environmental crime. So I note that there's an environmental crime policy which is coming to this Wednesday's cabinet agenda, which I'm pleased to see personally. Well, that report states that out of 427 incidents, 0 fixed penalty notices were issued in 2022 to 23, which is obviously very disappointing. So how confident are you, Councillor Unsworth, that the new policy will improve performance in future years?
I think Caleb's role, the fact that he's he's just embraced it fully. And I feel very confident in his ability to carry out the things that are outlined in the report. That the things that he's put in place will. I think there's some already been issued. Some of the fixed penalty notices. If I've got it, I think I've read somewhere. Yeah, there's already 30 environmental crime offences being identified and under investigation, and it's I think I did read that there was about 8 fixed penalty notices already been. I've not got it written down here, but I think I did read that in one of the reports. So yeah, I feel very confident that the new environmental crime manager will succeed in his role.
Yeah, thank you for that answer, and it sounds like he's made some good progress already. But what difference will the policy make, though, that you about to propose this week?
I think it clarifies systems and procedures for staff. It also gives them an element, because of the camera, the body cameras, it gives them some sort of a bit more protection and security when they're going out on different jobs. And, it won't be sort of, you said this, you said that. There'll be evidence. It will give them evidence of where, where the crime has taken place. And it just gives them that knowledge that they're doing the right thing.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bowenberg.
So staying on page 44, but jumping to paragraph 22, it mentions that the pest control service has an increased income by £30,000. Does this service cover those costs and make a surplus?
I don't know, but Chris might know.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't cover the cost of the service. So a decision was made, maybe about 5 years ago to do a free treatment for both rats and mice because of the public health significance. We'd had a policy for a short while of charging for it. It got to be a very difficult situation because nobody would pay for the rats and mice treatments, and then particular areas that were completely overrun with rats, and people were delivering rats to the reception area for me in boxes and things like that. So a decision was taken that we would do rats and mice treatment for free. So that's the majority of our work is the public health work. So the income comes from pests that aren't of public health significance, so ants, wasps, and other sort of non-health related insects. But also we do private work for businesses as well. So we do some contract work for businesses in the district, but that doesn't cover the cost of the rest of the service. But it does go some way to paying for some of it.
What actually is the shortfall then?
Off the top of my head, it is shared between Chorley. I would have thought it was probably going to be around 30,000. I think the income that we get in probably pays for one of the pest control officers, not the second one.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, just reading the paragraph. Let's have a quick look regarding damp and mould in houses. I think that's pretty concerning. There's been an increase in referrals for that. At least more related to private individuals or social rental. And what can we actually do to improve this? Well, I sincerely hope we're not placing people in homes where we've got issues with damp and mould.
No, I did ask one of the officers about this, but there was a recent radio programme about children, babies in particular, being affected by damp and mould in temporary accommodation. And we did check, and I was reassured that all the temporary accommodation that we use is fit for purpose, that none of it has damp and mould. Some of the privately rented, I'm sure there is damp and mould in some of the privately rented homes. And but that's what we're looking to. This I can't remember what it's called now, but there is an initiative to try and get those up to scratch, get those homes. It's a difficult one because there's obviously the way in which the house is being treated is important, as well as the structure of the house. So it's got to be the landlord and the tenant need to work together to eliminate the mould.
Councillor Bamberg.
I've just got a quick supplementary question. How are we tackling that in the social housing market with companies like New Progress or Gateway?
The relationship with Progress is really positive, and they do respond to any requests that we have about that. Some of the smaller housing associations are less responsive, and we do have to keep on at them. But I think, generally speaking, the housing associations don't want their property to fall into rack and ruin, and so they do respond positively to any requests. I think I'm right there. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Alworth, please.
Thanks, Chair. If I could take you back to the priorities of a borough with less waste, more reuse and recycling. I think many households have lots of paper and cardboard to recycle these days. If you buy something from Amazon that size, you get it in a box that size, which then has to go somewhere. So is there any prospect, I mean, you covered the containers for food waste. Is there any prospect of paper and cardboard containers being other than the boxes where the lid blows off down the road every time the wind blows and the contents then proceed to follow it?
It's certainly something that's being seriously considered. But as I said before, we are trying to get it that all the districts in Lancashire use the same systems in the future. So as long as that, but I think everybody will have that same problem with the cardboard and paper. So it's I think it's possibly, what's the possibly maybe, but a bit more than possibly, probably maybe. But we've also got this extended producer responsibility, which this year we've got an extra £998,000 has come into the borough from businesses because we're getting rid of their waste. Now they're going to not like doing that, are they? So I think that they might actually look at ways of reducing their waste themselves now that it's hitting them in the pocket.
Second question. We have lots of people in the borough who may be vegan or lactose intolerant or whatever who buy Tetra Pak cartons of milk. I actually discovered last Thursday, mainly because they won't take my bin away, that we don't recycle Tetra Paks, even though there's a big recycling symbol on the side of them. Is there any particular reason for that?
I think we can actually take them to Farrington. You could collect them and take them to Farrington, but we don't collect them at the roadside. Sorry.
I think this comes back to where we take the waste, and I always get it mixed up between Global and Lancashire Renewables. I've got myself in such a muddle of it now. I don't know which is the right one. But they haven't got the process at the minute in order to recycle those to do the processing on their end. It is something that they're looking at, but we're kind of, we collect the waste and they process it and dispose of it. So there's an element of we need an outlet for it before we can recycle it.
Lancashire.
Yeah.
And Lancashire County Council have that arrangement with what happens to it. All our arrangement is to collect it to how they want us to collect it, and then they dispose of it. So we've not really got the control over what is recycled and how.
But did you just respond to Councillor Howarth to say that you can take it to Farrington? So I presume you mean to the Household Waste Recycling Centre at Farrington. And if you can take it there, what then happens to it?
I don't know is the honest answer. I mean, I can try and find out for you, but county will have different arrangements like they do for some of our other waste streams in terms of where they go to be disposed of, recycled. But I can certainly have a look and try and find out what they do with the Tetra Paks.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah, if you could, because certainly when we first introduced recycling, one of the first questions I remember being asked was, can you put Tetra Paks in the blue bin? And the answer was, yes, you definitely could. So somewhere down the line, it would appear that there's either been a change of contractor that they're being taken, the recycling's being taken to, for the policy to have changed. Because certainly for the 20 years I've been putting them in the bin, they've been collected and taken away. So.
Okay. Any more questions from colleagues? Just a couple more from myself, and then I'll bring other people in. So, Councillor Unsworth, if you had a magic wand, just for the day, what would be the one thing that you would change?
Well, obviously the level of funding for everything. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Obviously, you'd like to stop all the antisocial behaviour, but that would be the magic one, wouldn't it? Would be the first thing, and to respond to all residents' enquiries, so they're happy about it, about the response. But
okay, that's fine. Thank you. And you've obviously got a wide ranging portfolio, as we've referred to. Is there anything that we can do as a scrutiny committee to assist you in your role? Any particular areas of policy or anything that you'd like us to look at, maybe?
would it help to look at the new system for waste, for scrutiny?
For Ally.
Yeah, I mean Chris's team have got a new sort of system going, which is Alloy, and that's to look at how that is working might be really useful.
Okay, thank you. And genuinely, that offer is open moving forward to yourself and your colleagues. I genuinely believe that scrutiny can add value, but it can also add value up front. It's something that a lot of councils don't take enough use of. Can I open it up to councillors that are joining us online? Any questions? No. Councillors in the room? Councillor Martin, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask comment on what would I like scrutiny to look at, and I think it would be the ongoing food collection system, because when you see what's going on in Accrington, when County Council extended a licence due to the lack of facilities at this present time, and the issues that they have, that would be something to monitor, I suppose, going forward, because it does blight residents quite severely if it's not collected properly and disposed of properly. So taking it to Farrington would be a good thing, but I'd like to see the impact on our waste, on our tips, where our food would normally go. Just a sideline. Just for the cabinet member, I privately rent currently, and I'd like to make a comment as well as a question on that. Privately rented properties are not covered by the same legislation as social housing, and the minimum certificate required to rent a private house is certificate E, level E, which is amber, which means it's very poor. It's very poor. So, I mean, this was set by the government in 2017 and then reappraised in 2023. So the ask would be, so rather than me having my heaters on 24/7 to reduce the damp because of the poor insulation, would you like the government to increase that level to at least to B, so that people don't have to suffer this and then have to pay extortionate amounts of money for their energy to keep someone else's property damp free?
Councillor Unsworth.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll put that as my magic one then. But the other thing that I just wanted to just mention is all food waste is already being dealt with at Farrington. It's just being dealt with your residual waste. So it will still be going to the same place, but being separated.
Yes, thank you for that. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I would like to ask Councillor Unsworth a question on the climate emergency. We do have a climate emergency group, and I know they have reports that the attendances aren't that great at that committee, and I have to say it's the whole thing with climate emergency and carbon neutral is really, really difficult to deal with. Even from South Ribble, trying to get our building, the civic centre, to be carbon neutral. We've really failed in that recently, and it just goes to show, if we can't deal with it properly like that, how on earth all the thousands of businesses that are operating with South Ribble going to be able to deal with that? And it's, it's almost impossible. And to get the borough carbon neutral by 2030, whilst it might be an aspiration, perhaps to have an aspiration that's totally unachievable just doesn't seem to make any sense. And I just wondered what the cabinet members' view of that is. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Unsworth.
My view is that we carry on doing what we can do. I don't know if you know the story of the starfish on the beach, where there's thousands and thousands of starfish, and there's a little boy throwing them back into the sea, and he's asked, why are you doing that? You'll never be able to throw all these starfish back into the sea. And he says, no, but I've changed that one's life. So all we can do is our little bit and hope that everybody does their little bit and some sort of changes take place.
Okay, thank you. We can all play our part, certainly. Don't think we have any members of the public, either in the room or online. So, Darren. Oh, sorry, Councillor Smith. Yes, I'll bring you back in.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chair, but to be quite honest, I don't think that's really sort of good enough. I mean, as a council, we do have certain responsibilities, and we obviously are not able to deal with it. And I understand the council can't deal with it with the facilities and the financial arrangements that we have in place. And it just seems that we need to be a bit more realistic with this. I mean, at the moment, we're building hundreds and hundreds of houses that have been built without any heat pumps. If you look around the borough, there's hundreds and hundreds of houses being built without photovoltaic cells. it seems to me that that's something we could be in control of, or at least have a greater say of, and we're just not doing it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Onsworth, do you have any response? Okay.
There are a lot of reasons why we've been held up in reaching 2030. And I think I did answer the leader of the Conservative Party when she asked of your group, when she asked this at council. I will send that message round, if you like, as to why I feel we haven't reached 2030 and what we are going to carry on doing to work towards it. The local plan is critical in how those houses are built, and hopefully there are some measures in there to make them more carbon neutral. But developers have got their own agenda as well, haven't they? And they can't always, they say they can't make the profit if they do all the things that we would want them to. So it's there are things that we can't control, as you say. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings the questions to an end. Thank you very much. Darren, could I ask you to take us through some suggested recommendations, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just some of the themes from tonight's meeting. The committee thanks the Cabinet member for her portfolio update and answering the committee's questions, supported by the Director and Head of Service. The committee is grateful for the offer of further information being provided on progress being made with achieving carbon neutrality by 2030. The committee encourages the leader of the council to review portfolios to ensure better alignment with directorates and services. The committee asks that the antisocial behaviour diversionary activity programme be extended to other parts of South Ribble. The committee welcomes the offer of more information being provided on recycling Tetra Pak packaging. And finally, the committee is grateful for the suggestion of assisting the Cabinet member with the implementation of the alloy system. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Colleagues, are we content with all those recommendations, or are there any queries? Okay, so we accept those. And thank you once again for coming this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and let's hope the roads are moving a little easier than they were before. Okay, so item 6 is a Cabinet portfolio update on leisure and wellbeing. Can I take this opportunity to welcome Councillor Hunter to the meeting? Thank you for giving up your time, and to thank the officers similarly for coming this evening. And we've got a few questions in a normal manner that we'll put to you in a minute, but just wondered if there was a few words that you wanted to say as a way of introduction to your portfolio.
So, good evening. Thank you for having me. Like I say, be gentle. 1 hour and 45 minutes in Bamber Bridge to get here, so be nice to me. Yeah, my portfolio is leisure and wellbeing. So it's about our leisure centres, our leisure groups, what's going on, and health. And, well, basically, you'll go into the rest of it, healthy weights and active health, etc., etc.
Thank you very much. It's quite a journey, and it's a challenging time out there for lots of people today. Okay, thanks for coming. Can I just ask you if there was one single thing that you're most proud about in terms of your portfolio?
Can't say one single thing. I've got to say all of them. All of them are on track. It's not been easy slog, but we're all getting there. A few more things to tick off, and then I'll be extremely happy. So,
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Bollenberg.
Hi. Your report includes a number of key challenges. What keeps you awake at night? What's the thing that worries you the most?
I think the aggravation about the decarb has been the biggest one. Why we can't get the national grid quicker, why things seem to be dragging its feet. And I'm not going to say it's the council's fault, because it's not. It's been all the way down. So if there's anything aggravates me, it doesn't keep me awake at night. But the most aggravated bit about it, I think, is that.
Thank you. Councillor King, please.
Councillor Hunter, what is your role and relationship with the South Ribble Leisure Company?
I'm the cabinet member over the South Ribble Leisure Company. So I basically can sign off grants. I do work very closely with Danny and Paul, with the Hub, with Jennifer, and with Neil. Sorry, Neil, I nearly forgot you then. My role is overseeing everything, and I'm not backwards at coming forward. So if I do disagree with something, I do say, don't I? So it's just keeping, in the whole, I've got to sign things off. So I like to be very nosy and find out exactly what's going on. So that's my role in the leisure company.
And just to add on to that, are you responsible for the financial performance of the South Ribble Leisure Company?
That's more Jennifer and the director's responsibility. But I do sign off grants and I do sign off expenditure. We do meet regularly, weekly, and go through everything. And like I say, I do like the ins and outs of everything. So I think we mostly agree on everything, don't we, Jennifer? So, yeah.
The leisure company has 3 directors. So I'm the managing director, and we've got Neil Holton and Chris Moister. So we make the sort of day-to-day decisions of the leisure company. There is shareholders, which is the cabinet, which is what Councillor Hunter lead. So they lead on the direction, obviously the fees and charges of the leisure company, and the business plan for the leisure company as well. So that's how the governance arrangement's set up. And the council set the medium-term financial strategy for leisure. So what contribution the council would make towards the leisure company, and obviously set the fees and charges of the leisure company.
Okay. In terms of those governance arrangements, do we have like a plan, like a visual representation of it that you could share, please?
Yes, we do. I can send that through to Darren to put on the minutes for next time. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Bollenberg, please. Sorry, Councillor Alworth, my mistake.
Too many Davids. On page 23, paragraph 7, second bullet point, this is under portfolio achievements. Mention is made of restructuring fees and charges. So does this mean there's been an increase?
Yeah, there has been an increase, and it was voted on by the council. We haven't put the fees and charges up since before COVID time. So we've had a complete revamp. We're still very competitive against anybody else. Well, gyms, but the gyms that we're competitive against haven't got the swimming areas. So the fees and charges had to go up, and like I said, signed off by the shareholders and the cabinet.
So do we have any figures to show whether it's affected the number of visits, and are the leisure centres affordable to residents?
Sorry, I didn't catch the last bit. The first bit.
Sorry, the first bit. Do we have any figures that show whether it's affected the number of visits? And if it has, are our leisure centres affordable to residents?
I think all our leisure centres are affordable to residents. Like I say, competitively, we are very competitive. Our figures are now back up to pre-COVID levels, if not above. We are thinking of incentives to draw more people in. As you know, we're revamping and refurbishing, which I think will draw more people in. I think we've got to work on our comms to get that out there. We've got to advertise this. And I think a lot of people are suffering with like the cost of living who are paying for expensive gyms that haven't got swimming pools. I think we should be able to draw those in as well. But yeah, our figures are very good at the moment. And yes, we can supply figures if you want.
Yeah, so we get the figures in the quarter performance reports of the council of the number of people who come and attend the leisure centre, from young people to older people. But as Councillor Hunter said, yeah, we're back to, in most of our programmes, back to pre-COVID levels. And with some programmes, particularly swimming, we're exceeding the pre-COVID levels. So yeah, we're back on track.
Yeah, I don't think the question was since pre-COVID levels, it's since we've increased the fees, has it had an adverse impact?
No.
You mentioned swimming then. So how many of the schools in South Hibble actually take advantage of having swimming lessons in our leisure centres?
There is about 5,000 children use the swimming programme, and I can give you the numbers of schools, but it's about 5,000 children, Councillor, who access the school swimming programme, which is outside of the kind of programme that we have, which we run our own. So we have a school swimming programme where schools come in and use the centres, and then we have our own swimming programme for young people, which, Saturday mornings and weekday evenings. But I can give you the numbers. What we'll do is we'll supply the number of schools that actually use us through to Darren, certainly.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. And now it is the other David, Councillor Bowenberg.
Thank you. Staying on page 23, paragraph 7, it's the 5th bullet point. You mentioned decasualisation, and we just want to know what is actually meant by decasualisation and what is actually being done, what's being proposed.
So in the leisure company, we'd used quite a number of casual staff to man our centres. So what we wanted to do, because obviously we once we got the company back in, we wanted to make sure that people had permanent employment. So what we've been doing is we've been working through to see which positions are regular hours, which positions are needed within the company. So we did a full review of all our staffing structure right from the top to the bottom to try and understand, do we need those employees? Are they true casuals or not? So anybody who wasn't a true casual got a contract, and then we were able to guarantee their hours for them. And then what's left over now, it is true casual. So if there's leave and we need a casual, if there is a sickness and we need a casual. So every position now is filled with permanent staff that when we need permanent staff. So that's been a full review of this, and it's taken about 12 months to do that. And it's all been approved through the board.
Just as a follow-on question, would you say that those that have now transitioned within that last year from a casual role to a permanent role have seen an increase in the not an increase, sorry, an improvement in the conditions?
Yeah, they'll all follow the terms and conditions as on the council, so it's a massive improvement. I'm sorry, I don't seem to have some of these papers, but I'm going to answer the best I can. So basically, we did find out as well that we had some staff on 0-hour contracts, which is not on. So as Jennifer said, we did a complete staff review, and basically with none on 0 hours now, it is pure casual or permanent contracts, and the terms and conditions are the council, so they're a lot better off.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor King, please.
Still on page 23, you've got your financial table. How confident are you that the leisure company is going to become cost neutral, and what steps are planned to achieve this?
Well, as you can see on page 23, we've cut down from a donation of 1,210,000 down to 859,000 to this year 351,000. We've gone through everything from energy savings, decarb, price increases within proportion, getting different activities, encouraging more schools in, more activities in. And we are, if we can make it just on a balance now, what we actually paid Serco to run it. So we're actually working very hard and cost neutral. And we're doing, if you see the figures there, extremely well. So we'll just keep working at it.
So I'm conscious that there's been a lot of hard work to achieve cost neutrality and all these different measures to go and achieve that. The big wins often come first, and the smaller ones that are a little bit more difficult tend to come second. Considering that we are still down at the moment, do you think, based off that, cost neutrality is going to be feasible within the next year, 5 years? Do you have estimates for that?
Hopefully 1 year, definitely 5 years. I would say within the next 2 years, now I'm being very lenient here, I'm hoping it's going to be 1 year, but within 2 years, I think, barring any catastrophes or anything like that, I think we're very much cost neutral. So I think with the work we've put in, the refurbishment, everything else, I think we need to get the comms out there, advertising out there. We're looking at different things, maybe like having different kind of swimming parties. We're looking at renting out parts of the leisure centre that's not being used for NHS, etc., etc. So we're looking at everything to bring the money in to make it cost neutral.
Brilliant. And it does sound like there's a lot of really good initiatives. These numbers are based off 2024-25, and since that point, we are aware of the increase in national insurance. I know that you love the ins and outs of things, as you've mentioned. So I was just wondering, what is the financial impact of national insurance on South Ribble Leisure Company?
Right there, I love the ins and outs, but that is one thing I don't know, so I'm going to pass over.
Right, the building next year, so next year we have to achieve a further 384,000 saving. That is higher because there's 60,000, around that 64,000 is equivalent to national insurance for all our staff. So the increase in national insurance. So yes, we're very aware of that figure.
Thank you. So we know national insurance is going up. Do we know whether that is the biggest impact financially, the biggest financial risk to the leisure company, or is there something else which is having more of a financial detriment to us achieving cost neutrality?
Yeah, I think the energy charges are something we've got to watch. We don't know where it's going. We know all about the increases. I mean, we have changed our energy firm, so we are making a lot of savings with that. I think a lot of this is going to rely on what's going on in our country, isn't it, and what happens. But energy charges, I think, are a big one. I mean, the national insurance is a big one, but I'm sure we can factor it in. That's why I'm giving 2 years rather than one.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you very much, Chair. Welcome. First question for me tonight. Looking at page 23, paragraph 8, it talks about 6 KPIs for the leisure company. I've had a quick look through. I can't see what those KPIs are. Apparently we're exceeding them all, apart from the exception of leisure users over 65. Is that a particular KPI? And is there any particular reason why we are missing that KPI at the present time?
So we'll make sure you get hold of those.
Well, specifically, is it a case? Is it a number of users over 65 using the centre? Is that the one we're failing in the minute? And what are we doing to get that one back on track?
I think, yeah, that is the one thing I did pick out, actually, the over 65s. And as I'm heading there myself, I need to know this. So basically, I think we will look at that. We're going to have to try to get some incentives going, maybe work through the NHS. We'll look at everything to try and get that up, because I do think that health-wise and heading towards 65 and whatever, your health doesn't have to take a priority. So we will definitely look at that as an important issue.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Howarth, please. Couple of questions on active health.
Yeah, firstly, how does the leisure company work with the active health team?
Yeah, so we primarily, it's on venue hire. So on our Active Schools programme, we hire the South Ribble Tennis Centre and the Banbury Sports Hub to deliver that programme. We also work with leisure on our Active Lifestyles programme. So at the end of that programme, if the clients complete the course, they get a 3-month funded membership, which comes through the Lancashire County Council Healthy Weights collaboration. That relationship is building and expanding, and we're just sort of exploring avenues to do that.
And secondly, if you go to page 25, paragraph 27, what are the plans to make the active health team financially sustainable in future years?
Right, as we know, funding is very, very precarious anyway. But we've started paid for active health, haven't we? But paid for half provisions. We have funded from LCC to deliver for 2 weeks in Easter, 6 weeks in summer and 1 week in winter. So, and as funding is very precarious at the moment, we have started another, which is paid for provision. So it's £14 per day. We also have SEND children, don't we? We have SEND children that can, attend these and everything. We're looking at fit for the future. So depending on funding, it all depends on funding. So we're looking at grants, aren't we? We're looking at outside grants and everything else. So we're not just relying on LCC giving us the money. We're looking at everything really to keep this sustainable and to make sure the kids have something to do and are fed. So.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor King.
What? Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Yes.
just to expand on that point.
Please.
We're at a tricky sort of situation at the minute with sort of the political change. So we've got a number of multi-year funding rounds, which mainly came from Lancashire County Council. They've thought quite radically with that. We're hoping in the next sort of few months we'll hear on future funding rounds for school sports premium and the school games funding. And we're hoping that those are sort of multi-year settlements as well. The school games funding is up for a national review, and a lot of the talk from the school games organisers across the country is an ask for multi-year funding to have real impact and create a real legacy. So we're in a bit of a transition period, but we're hoping the next couple of months we'll have a bit more of a steer on that.
So in principle, the grants and money that we get in covers the cost of the active health team. But as Matt said, everything is very precarious at the moment. So what we do going forward is very much dependent on the grants that we receive as a council. But at the moment, as we speak, the costs are covered by the various funding streams that we've got.
Yeah, thank you for that. Councillor King.
Thank you. What is the biggest barrier to people becoming members for the South Ribble Leisure Centre?
I don't think there's a barrier. I think that anybody who wants to join the South Ribble Leisure Centre can do. We've got all sorts of different initiatives. We had a New Year sale, we had a Black Friday sale. I don't think there is anything really that would stop somebody coming in or joining the Leisure Centre.
So maybe different way of asking this is, what is it that is preventing people from wanting to sign up to South Ribble rather than a private company elsewhere?
I think what may have stopped that is our leisure centres have been massively in need of upgrades. The equipment's been massively in need of upgrades. The actual centre itself massively in need of upgrades. Luckily, we're doing these upgrades now. And I think that once we finish that, it will draw in extra customers. Like I said, there's a lot of people that do go to private gyms. Their costs are going up and up as well. So once they see that the leisure centre's been refurbished, the equipment is in better nick, everything's been refurbished, I think it might draw them in. And I think we'll do a big comms as well on this as well.
Has there been any surveys or studies that's been commissioned to work out what it is that is almost, what is it that's ultimately the best improvements that can be done for South Ribble Leisure to attract more customers? Is there a certain section that we see customers saying that needs to be improved, and then I would be signing up for membership?
Yeah, it is the gym. I think the swimming is fantastic. I think we like the schools and the swimming programs, and like I say, but I think it is the gym that has needed massive upgrades. That is probably stopping people coming in. So hopefully when that is done, we should, we've got the options then.
And do we have the data to back up that is what's preventing people from signing up?
I wouldn't say so, really. I mean, but it's more word of mouth. It's more what you hear and what's reported that I've heard personally. So I think it's more word of mouth. And I think that once we're upgraded, the word of mouth is also out there, but we'll do the comms as well. And we'll do the pictures and everything else. But I think a lot of it at the moment is the gym and it's the word of mouth. It's like we go in and something's not working or something doesn't look right or something, so it's word of mouth, I think, that's putting people off, really. That's just my opinion.
Do you think it's worthwhile commissioning a piece of work that actually does look into this? Because I'm just very conscious there's obviously a huge amount of investment that's going into South Ribble Leisure, and we're basing the upgrades on whether should we upgrade the reception, should we upgrade the changing room, should we upgrade the equipment or the swimming pool? And if we're going to be making those investments, surely we want to base it off what is going to be most beneficial to bring in the maximum amount of customers possible. So should that work be done in order to go and achieve and maximise results?
Yeah, so we have had an independent company, and what they've done is we've asked them to look at latent demand. So what is the demand for the services and where we would invest our biggest bang for our buck? So one of those obviously is membership. So there's a latent demand of around 900 is what this company has said, that if we do invest in our gym equipment, if we invest in leisure centres, there's potentially 900 additional customers that we could have. There is also some latent demand in our swim programme. So what they've said, what we're doing at the moment is we've just employed an aquatics coordinator in the company, and the aquatics coordinator is looking at how we can expand our swim program, looking at introducing new classes at new different levels. So there's quite a lot of information and background they've been doing to try and understand where we should invest our money to get more custom in, and where the business case is for the work that we're doing.
And we also have many customer surveys all the time. And the maximum gyms have also come out on the surveys. The other area is the wet changing rooms. We're doing a lot of surveys about the capacity is not big enough. And these are not very nice places to go get changed for swimming. And Councillor Hunter's completely right. That is a word of mouth thing, but it's also backed up by surveys. So that's why a priority of the funding, as well as the gyms, is to completely revamp and refurbish the wet change rooms at Mayland, Bamber Bridge and Pemberton.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, you sort of continuing the subject about capital improvements. We've put that down for portfolio areas for development and improvement. What's the current timetable for all the capital works and effect to be complete and move from a phase of upgrade to constant maintenance and replenishment? It's like a particular stage where you refurb something and then you move to another stage where you just keep it up to date. What sort of date we're working to get everything complete?
Again, hopefully by late summer. So, and then basically what we'll do is gym equipment should be renewed every 5 years. Now, because we're sort of back on top of things now and things are rolling, we will make sure that things are registered when they have to be renewed, when they have to be replaced, when whatever, which is the same thing. So we will make sure that we've got a category of keeping on top of things, and once everything's done, I'd say by summer, hopefully, we should be nicely up and running. We should be looking very pretty. We should have lovely gym equipment. And I might even sign up myself if I can find the time to go.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the leisure centres, so Scrutiny colleagues used to visit the leisure centres as part of their work when Serco were involved in particular. That's perhaps something that we'd like to do as a committee. Would that be in order to do that moving forward so that we can assess it ourselves for those videos who don't normally use the leisure centres? Some of us will do.
You are quite welcome. We might put tea and coffee on as well. Basically, I think it would be nice if you came when it was refurbished. If you do want to have a look at the before and after, you're quite welcome as well. But I think it'd be really nice that once we've got it all done and it's all, complete, then yes, please all come down and have a look and sign up.
Thank you. So I asked your colleague, Councillor Unsworth, the question before about if she had a magic wand. So I'm going to pass that magic wand to yourself, Councillor Hunter. What would be the one thing that you would change with it?
If we're talking about the leisure, I'd wave that magic wand and it'll all be done tomorrow. Okay, we'd have all new incentives, loads of new customers. That's my magic wand. I mean, if I wanted to go outside the scope of leisure, there's a lot of things I'd like to do for the magic wand. I'd just like everything to be done and completed because it has been a long, hard slog, hasn't it? So I think that's my magic wand.
Okay, thank you. And again, as I said before, scrutiny committees, I believe, are there to A, hold the administration to account, but B, to also assist in terms of the work that you do, looking at policy areas, etc. Is there any way that you feel that the scrutiny committee could assist in your role?
I don't think there's anything really. I mean, you are quite welcome to look at anything, to discuss anything. And if there is something that you can come up with that we can use and we can consider, then I'm quite happy for that. So we're very wide open, very wide open.
Signed, thank you. Okay, can I ask councillors who have joined the meeting, first of all, those online, are there any questions, please? No. Councillors in the room? No, thank you. Members of the public, I don't think we have any. Not present anyway. Okay, colleagues, I don't think there's any further questions. Darren, could I ask you if you've got any draft recommendations, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just some of the themes from tonight's meeting. The committee thanks the Cabinet Member for her portfolio update and answering questions supported by the officers. The committee is grateful for the offer of further information being provided on the governance structure of the South Ribble Leisure Partnership and that key performance indicator reports are provided, and also that further information be provided on the number of schools using the swimming pools in the borough. The committee welcomes the assurance that the leisure centres will achieve cost neutrality within the next 2 years. And finally, the committee is grateful for the invitation for the committee to visit the leisure centres once the capital improvement works are complete. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Darren. Colleagues, are we content to accept those recommendations? Thank you. Those are approved unanimously. Can I thank you personally for your time this evening and wish you well in your portfolio moving forward.
Thank you all very much for not shouting at me. I'm being very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope your journey home is better than the one coming. Yeah. Okay, item 7, we've deferred to the next meeting, and some written questions will go to Councillor Watkinson. In the meantime, could we also send best wishes to Councillor Watkinson from the committee? Item 8, similarly, we have deferred. However, there was talk of the charter, which was a key recommendation from the scrutiny review that was cross-party, and which I had the pleasure of chairing. I think we could do to expand a little on the charter. It seems to have been somewhat lost in translation from when the scrutiny task group did the work and what's been implemented since. So I think a bit more outline on that would be helpful before Councillor Watkinson does attend the next meeting. Okay with that, colleagues? Thank you. If we could take us on to item 9 then, and committee matters. So task group report, please. Got task group report on democratic participation. That's met and scoped the review. Anything further to say on that? Okay. Next item is meetings and training attended by committee members. As far as I know, there's nothing to report. Thank you. And then we've got the cabinet forward plan. Are there any items on that anybody wishes to flag up or comment on? No. Okay, super. Right, so on that basis, that brings the meeting to an end. Next meeting, I believe, is scheduled on the 2nd of June. And I'm sure Councillor Pillinger will be back for that meeting. But thank you very much to all of you for your support this evening, as of some really good questions that we've covered. It was unfortunate that Councillor Watkinson wasn't able to be with us, but the 2 portfolios that did attend, I found their presentations helpful. I think there's lots more that we can do collectively moving forward. So thank you, and have a pleasant and safe journey on. Thank you, Darren and Ben.